Beautiful. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fitness Friday. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Z, and welcome to Meal Prep Co. Today's presentation is on nutrition and healthy eating habits. So thank you so much. We have May and Jimmy. They're the founders of Meal Prep Co, and they have been working and or preparing meals for people since 2014. Jimmy is one of the head chefs, and his background is nutrition, kinesiology. He's actually one of my consultants also. He has done a lot of consultations with me on how to eat for some of my goals, and I've always found it incredibly helpful. And May is the head of operations, and her background is also nutrition and wellness coaching. They have prepared a beautiful presentations for you guys today on how to, what to, and why that way. So I'm going to hand the floor over to them. If you guys have any questions, there's also the chat on the side. Please, I'll be looking at that. So feel free to pop your questions in there or unmute yourself and ask any and all. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Z. We're really excited to be here. It's always been one of our goals to be able to reach out to the masses and really kind of just give people this like nutrition information, because there's so much information out there, and we really pride ourselves in the work that we've done through the years to really hone in on this particular topic when it comes to fitness, lifestyle, nutrition. And so we've put together a presentation for everybody and give tips and how we kind of deal even with that clients and how we walk them through them getting started. Doesn't matter what point in their life they're in, whether they're a high performance professional athlete or a stay-at-home mom or dad that, you know, has gained weight through the pandemic and is like looking to shed some of that weight. So I think it's super relatable. So it doesn't really matter who we're dealing with. We really just kind of like to take the individual approach and just kind of see like, hey, how can we help? How can we get you started? And what is going to be the end goal?
Yeah, for the most part, like we want to simplify it. You know, we want everybody to have a good relationship with food. We're definitely about results. We want you to see results, but again, it's long term. So the relationship with food is what's going to take you to that next level, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to definitely give you the tips and trades. We're not going to give you everything. We're just going to give you some teasers, but
just
something you could utilize ASAP. And again, it's been helping us out. It's been helping our clients out. So again, we're looking forward to. We're very honored and grateful for this opportunity to speak to all of you and really impact you guys for sure.
So we'll start with the screen share really quick. So we'll get started on this presentation. We only have about 30 minutes, and we do have, you know,
lots to talk about.
The ground to cover. So we'll kind of get started with that. This presentation is regarding how we can enhance your life through nutrition, because really nutrition can bring so much value into our lives. And so we've kind of put this portion together to just show like how good nutrition really is a good fundamental for everything regarding from your cellular function to your mental health, to your immune system, how you sleep, life longevity in general, and having a good like mind to food connection. All of this is really brought on by really good nutrition. So let's just go ahead and get started. So here's 5 things. If we had to break it down into categories, it'd be 5 things that we always start with when we're looking at working with a client. And that is what and why. So what is your goal and why is that your goal? And that's really where we want to start. Each client should really have a really good idea of like, what is your goal and why is that your goal? Looking at your health, how do you stand as far as your health goes, your body metrics, and how much activity you're doing to then develop your nutrition plan. So we'll get started with the what and the why. So getting to know your goal is really, really important, because there's really only about 4 things that people can kind of start off with. It's either you're already at a good standpoint when it comes to your health and like how you look. And if you're happy with that, then we would look at how can you maintain that lifestyle? How can you maintain your body weight? And how can you like maintain that long term? And that really kind of correlates with how do we get you to maintain your calories within a range that fits your lifestyle. 2 is a lot of our clients, I would say about 85% of our clients are really looking at fat loss. And when we're talking about fat loss, we really like the term fat loss versus weight loss, because weight loss can be anything from fat mass to muscle mass to organ tissue, water weight. It can be anything. So we really want to be super specific when it comes to what your goal is, because if your goal is to, drop that fat mass, then hey, it should be specifically fat loss. And how do you maintain your muscle mass during that process? The more muscle mass that you have through your later years, the healthier you will be. It is just one thing that we know in the industry is the older that we get and the more muscle mass we have, it'll definitely take us into more successful years in our end time. So the other goal that people might have is to build muscle mass. We love that one because it really kind of like gets us to play around with the body, really help our clients grow. And that really just kind of goes with how do we get you in a calorie surplus, not necessarily being on maintenance, not a deficit. We really, if you want to grow muscle, then we have to make sure that we're eating in a surplus in calories to be able to tear that muscle apart and refeed it and help that muscle mass grow. And then we have clients that are more like, that want to build up their endurance. So they're either like an athlete or they're doing a triathlon or, things like that they really need to just work on their endurance. So that kind of goes back to calorie maintenance. And, those calories, really the way that we get those calories is at rest, how many calories are you burning through the day? So if you were laying down in bed, not moving at all, and you were just literally sustaining life, how many calories would you need to just do that? Then on top of that, we would consider your lifestyle. How much do you move? Are you sedentary at work? Are you moving at work? How much movement is happening? Walking, talking, moving your arms, digesting food. Then you take your rest calories and your lifestyle calories to figure out, where's your maintenance point. Now, if you do activity, then we would add that on top of that. So, if you are working out 3 times a week, 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, then we would add that into your total calories. So we can really figure out, well, where is your maintenance point? And from that maintenance point, if you're looking for fat loss, then we would work in a deficit. If you're looking to maintain, then we just work within that range. If you're looking to build muscle mass and grow, then from that starting point, then we need to work in a surplus. So that's really important. So anytime that you want to kind of start your goal is to figure out, okay, what is my goal and why do I want to do that? And so really, you got to make your why bigger than the how and everything else. Your why really you really need to dig deep to figure out, why you want to do this, because you're always going to have to go back to that why, because eventually, it does get sometimes a little bit of difficult and you need that motivation. Why has to be a big why. I'm a mother, I have 2 children, and I always try to tell myself, I don't want my children to be my excuse. I want them to be my motivation to continue to stay within, stay healthy and stay fit and things like that. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide and go from there. So next thing is you want to kind of grade your health. So when we're working with clients, no matter what goal you're trying to reach, whether you're working to do fat loss, whether you're looking for maintenance or whatever it is that you're looking for, we always do want to assess 3 very important factors: is your sleep, your stress, and your water intake. That really is the foundation of how your body is functioning, right? Sleep is really important for recovery. And through the nighttime, our growth hormone is released into the body. And so when that is disrupted, it is very difficult for the body to move and create a balance. So it will add to your stress, or it will relieve your stress. So sleeping is a very important thing. And we really do recommend 8 hours on average, ideally be 9 hours realistically, but anything below the 7 and below, it just makes it difficult for your body to reach that point of success. Stress is another big one. It's one of the hardest ones to manage for people, is to be able to manage their environmental stress, their stress within relationships with people, things like that. But biologically, the body, the way that it perceives the stress, creates a chemical reaction in the body that can most definitely also affect the way that your body is processing, internalizing these calories that we're consuming. So even if you are in a calorie deficit, but you're in a very high stress environment, you feel like you're doing everything right, that stress could definitely can hold you back, because it's how the body is perceiving how you're managing that stress. And it could put you in a gas pedal mode. So like go, go, go all the time. That's just detrimental to any goal that a client might have. So sleep, stress, and then water intake, because water really regulates a lot of the functions. So if a client comes and they're trying to grow muscle mass, but they're not drinking enough water, the muscle itself doesn't have enough lubrication. It cannot actually create muscle growth in that environment. So you could be doing everything right? You could be training, you could be eating in a calorie surplus, but if we're dehydrated, the body, the muscle mass is just not, it's too tight, it doesn't want to grow. And same thing, when we're in a deficit, we're cutting our calories, we're doing our cardio, things like that. But the fact that we don't drink enough water, we're transporting a small amount of fat through, our sweat and our urine. And so it is really important that we constantly stay hydrated. We also look at your dietary restrictions, and you should too when you're, evaluating what your goal is, what dietary restrictions you might have, so you can work around those dietary restrictions, whether you're gluten intolerant, or you have GI issues, your gut health issues. You really kind of want to take all of those things and kind of say, hey, can I work with the doctor? Can I work with somebody to help me make sure that everything is kind of in line, so this is not hindering my progress, as well as any medical condition. If you're diabetic, high blood pressure, there's I took a little statistic that shows that nearly half of Americans suffer from at least one chronic disease. So really kind of dealing with that, either, in the superficial level, or really kind of diving really deep into that, whether it's a hormonal thing, a thyroid situation, to really kind of get all of those things in line, so you are not having to work backwards. So we'll move on to the next slide. Last thing that we want to kind of talk about is body composition. So why is this even important? But when you are, I put on here, not knowing what your body composition is like throwing darts with a blindfold on, because we always try to tell our clients, hey, if they're local, we have them come in and we have them do a bioimpedance test, because we really want to know how much lean muscle mass versus fat mass you have. Because the scale is not really going to tell you and give you a true picture of how you're doing internally. Again, when we're talking weight loss versus fat loss, weight could be water, it could be many things. And it starts with that water dropping within the first, couple of days. It could be really confusing, but a true test would be a bioimpedance test, a hydrostatic dunk test. That's where you get dunked underwater that's like gold standard. Or a DEXA scan, which is what we're picturing in this picture, where you go and you get a full body scan, and it shows you, hey, you are, 25% body fat versus 35% body fat. It really gives you a really good idea of where your starting point should be. And after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, you can go back and do another one, so you can see, hey, did I maintain my muscle mass during this fat loss program? Did I gain muscle during this muscle gaining program? because without that, it's very difficult for this scale to actually measure this lean mass versus fat mass. And for us, it really does help us because in turn, it helps us calculate your basal metabolic rate. So at rest, how many calories you need or your total energy expenditure. And it also helps us distribute out of all of the calories that you're eating. Let's say it's 1,800 calories. Out of those 1,800 calories, how much of that should be in a protein category? How much should be in a fat category or carbohydrate category, just depending on how much fat mass versus lean mass you're carrying around. And so I'll tell you this, let's say we have two people that are 150 pounds, both 150 pounds. One is 18% body fat and one is 40% body fat. Well, their nutrient requirements are going to be completely different based on the fact that one is just much leaner and will have much more muscle mass versus the person who is, has more fat mass versus, some lean muscle mass. And so it doesn't take a lot of calories to feed fat as it does to feed muscle. So the person who is leaner, they would just need to eat more calories in general to feed that muscle. That's why muscle is so precious, and we're determined to help our clients keep that lean muscle mass. So this is where I would ask anybody who's really serious about, hey, getting to know where their body is to kind of start here. This is a really good place to start because the scale is just not going to tell you the details that you're going to need to know. So that when you go back in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long you're doing your program for, that you see, hey, I actually did. It feels so nice to know, hey, I actually lost, pounds, but it was all fat mass. And I actually even gained some muscle mass. That's like the best news we can have a client, have. Those are the results that we want, right? So we'll move on to the next slide. So I will let
this is where I come in.
I will let Jimmy take the floor here.
I'll take
moving
the floor
forward.
now. All right, so I mean, what she was saying, a lot of information we have to kind of analyze. The more data we know, the better. Okay, and that's basically kind of how I like to look at it. And then we take a better approach and look at your physical activity, your movement. What are you doing, right? What is your goal, and how is that goal in line with what you're doing? So in my opinion, it's work out smarter, not harder, right? When you come up with a nutrition plan, it has to be in sync with your workout regimen, right? So a lot of times, when somebody approaches us, my thing is not to change their lifestyle, but make sure their diet is in sync with their lifestyle. And then they're going to want to change their lifestyle because now they're going to have more energy. They're going to be able to do more things. They're going to be able to lift more heavier things. And now we could push the limit. As before, this is all they could do based off the nutritional, basic habits. So again, there's different approaches. You have your maintenance, you have your fat loss, you have your building muscle mass, you have endurance. They all have a different approach when it comes to nutritional value, the percentiles, and then on top of that, training, right? So if I'm going and I have a client that comes in and they kind of want to maintain their body type, but feed their workouts, right? They're happy with their body type, but they want to maintain this while they endure 5 days of working out, 7 days of working out. And they're like, I can't eat enough to maintain this, weight. That's where we come up with a proper plan. But again, that body composition is where we start. If we don't know those numbers, then we don't even know how much muscle mass they have on them. Again, we're being blindfolded. So when it comes down to fat loss, that's a huge component with it when it comes to the body composition, because we need to know that starting zone. If we don't know that starting zone, we don't know if we're losing muscle mass, we're losing fat mass. So, we have to create that deficit. And again, at the same time, we want to maintain the muscle mass, but the ultimate goal is to gain muscle mass in the process. So again, we want to create that deficit, but not too much a deficit to where we're actually losing muscle mass in the process. So it's within like 10%, 5%, it really depends on the person, the individual. But, we could go a little bit a step further and look at what type of workouts they're doing. And that's going to require more carbs versus more fats. Or it could be a carb tolerance, right? Somebody who doesn't have a good relationship with carbs. They just came off with a ketogenic diet and their insulin hormone is not responding to the carb intake they're intaking, right? The sugars they're intaking. So we have to slowly approach that. And then, there's different diets. There's reverse dieting, there's carb cycling, there's, backloading. There's different approaches that I like to say there's not one size fits all. So the best way to kind of approach it is look at their background and then take a better approach going forth, and be realistic, right? We are busy people. You guys got Qualcomm, you guys, mental fatigue is definitely one of those components. So with me, it's like, can we reduce your stress to put your body in the environment to even lose weight? As she was saying, if you're always in that gas pedal mode, you're always on a go, 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 you're never going to be in a recovery mode. So all these workouts you're doing are generally a waste. Again, going back to working out smarter, not harder. So again, that's going to require calories. That's going to require proper recovery. And the main focus is that number one important meal. And a lot of people say it's breakfast, it's your last meal of the day. It's your post-workout regimen, right? It's whether your body's going to recover or not, and if you're feeding it what it needs when it needs it. So in my opinion, post-workout, whether you work out in the morning, work out at nighttime, that post-workout regimen is your most important meal, okay? So going back to fat loss or building muscle, that post-workout regimen is going to be very important. So I like to look at a needle and a thread concept. So think about, the needle is going to be the protein shake, the thread is going to be the fast-acting carb, okay? Those two components are going to get in the system as fast as possible and restart the building process. Now, if we don't do that, say we just get done with the workout and, we go home, 2 hours passes, 3 hours passes, that anabolic window that you have where your body is ready to suck in these nutrients, it's going to pass. So therefore, your body's going to start recovering itself or try to start recovering itself. There goes that lactic acid buildup, scar tissue buildup. That's what we feel 2 days afterwards. And it's not exactly a good sign. We should be a little sore, but if we're giving our body what it needs, we should be able to go and train the next day. No problem, right? We have professional athletes that are doing this every day. Again, it goes back to that post-workout regimen, what you're eating before you're working out. Are you even fueling your workout in the first place? Again, when it comes down to fat loss, it's you want to stay in that environment as much as you can, as opposed to building muscle. You want to stay in that anabolic environment as much as you can. So it really kind of goes into your insulin hormone and those carbs. So that's where a lot of people have a bad relationship with carbs because they don't know when to put them in. And and it's always like, I want to lose weight, but again, I want to gain muscle. You can't have best of both worlds without having that carbohydrates. Kind of like that needle and the thread concept. So you need that buying to happen. And again, post-workout is when your body's going to accept those nutrients max full. So say for instance, post-workout, I mean, I could be taking up to 50 to 60 grams of carbs, sugars, Gatorade, fruit, something that's going to get in your system as fast as possible and replenish that glycogen that you just utilized. So that's the battle of the game, is going to break up the body and recover, break up the body and recover. Okay.
Jimmy, we have a question here. The question is the statement that some people may not be receptive to increasing muscle mass, example, some people due to genetics may not be able to gain muscle, is that true?
So it's a very broad statement unless we know the data. So again, going back to data and seeing how your hormones play a big role in this. Are you releasing growth hormone? How are your testosterone, estrogen hormone? Are you too stressed out?
And that could be something that, again, it could be a medical condition. It kind of sounds like it could be kind of a medical condition, but if you were working with a doctor to help inject maybe growth hormone, like legally, so that way, we're making sure that there's a balance there. I have heard it happen, but it's due to some type of
underlying issue. Yeah, and again, I wouldn't say necessarily it's genetics, because again, it definitely starts at home. I work with a lot of kids, a lot of parents, and again, I can't blame the kid. I have to blame the parents, because the kids are eating what the parents are feeding them. So again, genetics is one thing, but unless you know the background and the details that go into building muscle, the growth hormone, like she was saying, the quality of sleep, are you doing these things on the back end, or are you just accepting that it's genetics? So my thing is, can we be proactive about it, try it the proper way, and then check off the checklist, right? Again, going back to sleep, water intake, nutritional, are you working out smarter, not harder? Like, are you doing everything in line to make sure that statement is true? So if not, then let's, make sure we get these things in line. And 9 times out of 10, people are surprised, because again, we take a better approach rather than just eating in a surplus. Anybody can eat a surplus. Anybody could, eat in a deficit to lose weight, but are you eating the right proper amount of each category? And again, and everybody's different. So some people work better off of high fats, some people work better off of high carbs. And it's really your carb tolerance is what you have to kind of figure out. And again, if that protein is not even high enough, then of course you're not going to build muscle. You're not even having enough protein to maintain that muscle mass, let alone the calories. So, to kind of put things in perspective, if you haven't took that initial data approach, then I wouldn't say that's true at all.
Z, I know it's supposed to be a 30 minutes, so I just want to know
Yeah.
how we are on timing.
I think we're doing pretty good. I have one more question come in. Let me go back there. You guys keep going. I have to get back into my screen.
Okay, no worries.
Yes. So going back to the heart rate, so going back to that, working out smarter, not harder. So if you want to lose weight, you want to lose fat, and that's your general goal. We want to put yourself in that environment and working off that insulin hormone. Okay, so post-workout, first thing in the morning, best time to do your cardio. And cardio, conditioning cardio that I'm talking about is between 120 to about 140 heartbeats per minute. The basis of this is creating a thermogenic environment without tearing up muscle fibers. We don't want to cause more trauma to the body. We want our body in that relaxed fat loss environment and have it in a release mode. So having enough carbs, but having that insulin hormone nice and low enough to be in that release mode is the general aspect of this. So first thing in the morning or post-workout is the best time to do your conditioning cardio. 30 to 40 minutes at that pace, you're going to be sweating. So going back to that water intake, the more water you drink, guess what? You're going to be sweating more, detoxing, sweating out the fat. That's the environment that you want to be in. Okay, little tips and trades when it comes to heart rate. You can really work out smarter, not harder. Going back to your calorie, planning again.
Do you have a question, Z?
I've got my question. Yes.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
the question is for someone who stopped exercising for many years and getting back into muscle gain exercises, is it possible or could the muscle entropy make it that too difficult to gain? Okay, so the question here is it going to be difficult for someone to gain muscle who has stopped exercising for a while getting back into it?
Yeah, so going back to that, it's muscle memory, how I like to tell people. If you gained it before, you can gain it right back.
Yeah.
Again, and it took a long time for you to lose that muscle, and it's a cumulative of stress. It's a cumulative of not eating properly. The workouts, you're not doing the same that you did before. And again, I don't like to take the approach of like, well, I did that before, I'm going to do it now. No, you're going to get injured that way. Slowly take an approach. My thing is eat at a maintenance at first, and then get maybe a routine of about 2 to 3 days of training so you give your body enough time to recover from, and focus on that sleep. Okay, so that sleep is where it's at. The sleep is, I could tell somebody who's going to hit a plateau or going to gain muscle based off their sleep. I'm like, track your sleep.
And one thing that I'd like to add to that question, it's a really good question, is that actually those people are kind of the luckiest people because of that atrophy. Once they start to get into the rhythm, you're shocking your body, you will gain muscle at an astronomical rate actually, versus take somebody who's been training for 2 years and now they're on their regimen, their calories and their training, they're lucky if they can gain a quarter of a pound, half a pound, maybe in 1 to 2 months, versus the new person who's starting all over again, who's been out for years, they could be gaining 2 to 3 pounds of muscle in a month.
But at the same time, it's not just eating enough calories, it's getting the proper amount of sleep, the water intake, the supplementation, making sure your hormones are optimized, not balanced, but optimized. Everybody's different when it comes to that, approach. And again, that sleep is where you're releasing that growth hormone. So if you're having a balanced approach when that, testosterone, estrogen hormone, and then you're releasing enough growth hormone, your stress hormone is going to be lowered, and you're going to be able to have that time to not be in a flight or fight mode. You're going to be able to be in that restful environment for that. Maybe 2 hours of REM sleep. That's ideal. That's what you want to kind of get is 2 hours of REM sleep. And that's related to growth hormone release. Okay. And then post-workout is the only other time that your body's going to release that growth hormone by doing that needle, that thread concept. So when you spike up your insulin hormone like that, you're secreting a little bit of growth hormone. So every time you work out, you could definitely release a little bit more growth hormone on top of that sleep, speeding up the recovery, reducing your inflammation throughout the body. And then overall, it's your health. Fat loss, muscle gain is great, but I know a lot of really fit people that are not healthy. I'm sorry, they're not healthy. So when it comes down to gut health, that's where it all starts. Think about your gut as another brain. So if that connection is not sound, yeah, you're not going to have a great time. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be lethargic. You're going to be motivated, and you're not going to absorb the nutrients properly. So you can even eat in a surplus, but you're not absorbing the nutrients properly. They're going to tip over, and you're going to absorb it as fat. So the foundation needs to be set before you even take that next approach and kick ass in the gym. You can't, right? So that's really one thing that I kind of like to look at is the foundation, and then taking a better approach after that.
So do you have any other questions from other people?
So far, that's it, guys. This has
Okay.
been really, really, really good information. And is there anything else, more slides or anything else you would like to add? Yeah.
Just our video about who we are, what we do, and if you're not local here in San Diego, and if you're looking for like a meal prep service, we are local here in Southern California. This is where our home base is, and there's a lot of work to do here in San Diego with our audience here. So I would recommend that maybe you find a company similar to, something that aligns with kind of like our goals and what we've come to do. So we wanted to kind of share just a video about us. And we hope that you guys just
and
about
again,
50
it's like even if you're
long.
not in San Diego, we can still work with you. There's Zoom, there's phone calls. We do a bunch of different consultations in that sense, and we could find a local meal prep company that is in line with what we do, and then I could kind of guide you on how to utilize their meals and to cover your calorie intake. The background is this planning that we do for you, and I could do this anywhere. I could do this, somebody in New York. I could do something, it's the foundation needs to be set, and then we could get with your doctor, get blood work done. We could really get into details, and then we could utilize, supplementation, proper meals, and then put all that together. And so we can still work with anybody, from here to all the way to New York,
So I do have a few more questions that rolled in.
Sure.
The first one is, how can we check gut health and nutrient absorptions objectively? And then Ryan's asking if you guys are both are nutritionists and what are some of your credentials?
So do you want to take the gut health?
Yeah, so gut health, like I said, you could take a sensitivity test, or you could take a like an allergy test. More so as a sensitivity test, because again, that's going to let you know that you can be eating chicken, but maybe you should only be eating it once a week or twice a week. You shouldn't be eating every day because it's going to be causing more inflammation based off of how your body reacts to that chicken. It could be the same thing with carbs, could be veggies, could be broccoli for all you know. But genetically on this side of things, your body is not accepting those nutrients properly. And again, you're not going to accept the micronutrients, let alone the macronutrients from it. So sensitivity test is where you want to kind of go in that route. And there's plenty of different doctor's offices that, have it, but not a lot of people know about it.
And there's also the one thing that you asked me to do when we started is the blood work to get your hormone levels checked. And I'm so glad that I've done that. And there's offices around here in San Diego too that we can definitely refer you to get some blood work done and see where your hormone levels are at, because that makes a huge difference also, where your vitamin levels are at. So what other supplements you should take. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely levels to it for sure. The deeper that you get, the better it'll be, but there's definitely levels.
But I tell
to
people at least get it once in your life. If you don't know about your sensitivity test, you don't know, genetically, again, you could. It's like I used to say, I had a dog growing up, and I was allergic to dog dander, and I had no idea. And the whole time, my immune system was suppressed because I was around my dog all the time. But imagine that going on in your gut. Imagine that something you eat every day. You think it's healthy, and you're doing it multiple times a day, and it's affecting you internally. So think about like, a skin reaction, but that's going on in your gut. Imagine all the inflammation that's going to be flowing. And then you add medications, you add alcohol, you add all these other, toxins. It's a better approach just to know your starting zone, and then we can make it a better approach on what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating.
Yeah, it's definitely really good guidelines to know yourself best, right? For you to understand what is good for you. Someone's asking if you guys are covered by insurance, if you guys work with people's insurance.
So no, unfortunately
Not yet.
not. You
Not
know,
yet.
that's something that, you know, getting meals covered through insurance would be something that we're working towards.
That's
It's a
definitely the
little more,
ultimate goal, yeah.
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 It's something that we've always said would be like the game changer for people.
Yeah.
Sure. Guys, for those of you that are interested in working with them, they were kind enough to offer a discount. For those of you that have joined the meeting today and you guys are interested in reaching out, definitely send them an email and they will answer your personal questions. Both of you guys are really fantastic at answering all of mine whenever I had one. And then also then you guys can discuss of what the Qualcomm corporate discount is that you guys are offering for people that joined. Any other questions before we say goodbye? Silence. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. This has been an awesome information. I've definitely been taking notes the entire time. Like I said, Meal Prep Pro is who I work with my personal meals. The barbecue ribs are killer. Those are definitely that I was always
Those are the cheat days. Those are your cheat days. You got to earn those. Yeah.
they're delicious. They're definitely, they're not just good for you, and they've customized it for me as far as what are things I like, what are things I don't like so much. We have discussed my workout regimen, and you guys know, absolutely, you're welcome. You guys know that I work out often. So they have customized my meals of what day I should eat what. So they really, really make it work for you personally of what your lifestyle is, your schedule is, and then they explain what to eat and why, including supplements and different things that I needed for myself after the blood test came back. I am biased because I work with you guys, but I highly recommend Meal Prep because I know that they're very knowledgeable, and as you've seen. Guys, take this information down. I have recorded today's meeting, so if you want to rewatch this again, or if you want to send it to a coworker that didn't make it today, it will be up on our Fitness Friday page. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for all of
Easy. Thank you, everybody
Easy.
that logged in today. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope to work with you guys. Reach out to us. Let us know. I'm looking forward to it.
Bye, everybody.
everyone. Thank you.